What's up, guys? I'm James Baney, and I'm back again, this time to do something a little different. We're doing the Bad Batch reaction show. So this is the time that I'm going to get to, having watched the episode, now I get to just express my spoiler feelings about what I just saw and kind of share that with you. So hopefully you guys have seen the episode, because this is just completely full of spoilers. I'm basically just going right through the show and giving my thoughts on every little point. So buckle up. This season, we're getting ready. Bad Batch, Season 1. Here we go. We're kicking it right off by showing exactly what this show is, right? It goes, da-da-da-da, the Clone Wars, and then it just fades away and goes, never mind, we're calling it the Bad Batch now, but that's basically what it is, right? It's the Clone Wars, let's be honest. Even the announcer is back. So, you know, I don't know if that's going to be a regular thing that they do on the show or not, but even the announcer comes back, so it really, really, really feels like Clone Wars here. You know how to do it, don't you? You start the show by saying, we're going to a little planet named Kaller. Does anybody know where that is? I know where that is, right? I am aware of where that planet is and what went on that particular planet. And sure enough, there it is. Depa fighting off the troops and all that sort of stuff. And what we saw, we got that little teaser in the Clone Wars. Little Caleb Doom shows up, and it's voiced by Freddie Prinze. Actually a little odd. You can hear that he seems much older, but it's fine, I guess, whatever. You want to stay... you know, with the voice and all that. So it's cool. But wow, I did not expect to see Caleb Doom show up right away, first episode, and, you know, get to show off a little bit of his skills and how far he's come. So this is basically a replay of what we already know from the Kanan Last Padawan novelization, or not novelization, but a graphic novel. And the thing about it is they've changed up a few things that I noticed right away. Number one, the whole event with Order 66 and all that takes place at in the daytime now, whereas it took place at night. And there were a couple characters, you know, you had Captain Styles and Commander Gray, right, in the comic, and they've now like seemingly combined that into one person called Captain Gray. And those characters had red clone outfits before, and now he's like a green color. And I think they only changed it to green so that it wouldn't be confused with the Bad Batch's red. Again, all of this stuff falls into like, it's a story, whatever. Maybe some of the details change up a little bit. But yeah, I think they just changed a certain number of things for this episode, you know, because who cares? And I'm not really one of them. I'm just going to say that I noticed the difference, or that's interesting now that the two characters are kind of now one character. Speaking of the whole like Order 66 moment, right? We see Depa die, and then we move to Caleb running away. And, you know, just a little pet peeve of mine, and this goes for anything, but like I can't stand it when the sniper character, who's supposed to be like the perfect marksman, anytime they're ever like needing to hit the target for a storyline purpose or something like that, they miss. Like, and that drives me nuts. Like, you see Caleb in his scope and he fires and he like hits the tree branch. I'm like, there's no way that the dude who would have like, if you know, you throw up a knife or something like that, which literally even happens in this episode, like he hits the knife and then the knife comes down or whatever. Like, there's no way that guy would miss that shot of like Caleb just sitting trying to hide in the tree, you know? So I don't know. It's just kind of a pet peeve of mine, but I'm sure everybody notices that, or it bothers pretty much everybody. After all that goes down with Order 66, they go back and we get to see, boom, the Palpatine. That's cool again. Another big returning voice actor. I'm sure there are others, but, you know, Ian McDiarmid coming back. That's a big one. So he came back and did the voice, and it's kind of that other, they do this a lot, especially around Order 66. It's that other scene, other people watching that particular event happening. So it was kind of cool to see like all the clones standing there, and then how, you know, the Bad Batch, specifically Clone Force 99, is reacting to it a little bit differently, because apparently their chips are not like as they're not working entirely properly, if you will. And then we get our first introduction of a new character who is obviously all in the trailers. So, you know, we're excited to kind of see, I'm excited to see kind of where this character goes. Omega, heavy in the New Zealand accent. They really leaned into that with this particular character. We don't really know much about her at this point, but as you guys know, because you've seen the episode, we'll get into a little bit more of why that character becomes important later in the episode. And then Tarkin shows up. Wow. So, I mean, we knew we were going to get him in the trailer. Steven Stanton, friend of the podcast, if you will. Yeah, he's doing the voice, always doing a great job. Love seeing him. But yeah, Tarkin shows up, and of course, in typical Tarkin fashion, right? He kind of like embodies the Empire. He's the person who shows up and says, "Hey, I don't know who's in charge, but now I am. I'm in charge." And this is the way things are going to go for all the clones from now on. We have a new set of rules. The Empire is going to be different than the Republic. Who you got? I'm interested in this Clone Force 99. So, because we're going to be more aggressive. Yeah. So he puts them to the test and even pushes the live rounds things, which kind of reminded me of like Starship Troopers or whatever. Like as soon as they switch over to like live rounds, like it's a bad situation. But yeah, they do their whole thing, and Tarkin, I guess, sees something in them and allows them to keep doing what they're doing. But I don't know. I like that Tarkin's here and he's completely taken over, and it just feels very normal, for his character. Yeah. The mission that he sends them on is to Onderon, and I think just like, or actually even more so than Kaller earlier, it very much screamed like, oh, we know exactly what we're going to see, especially, again, since we saw Saw Gerrera in the trailer. So, so far, it seems like the only real big surprise in the show has been Caleb. Like, we did not expect to see Caleb. But everybody else, Tarkin, Omega, and now Saw Gerrera, have shown up just in typical fashion, just as exactly as we expected. They're all here in that first episode. I was kind of thinking they might span that out, but you know how Star Wars is these days. They put a lot of the main stuff in that. They put a lot of the first couple episodes in that main trailer. That way they don't have to spoil too much, because they know how we are. We're going to go through and pick apart everything, as is something else that happened, and we'll get to that in a minute. But Saw Gerrera shows up. Very cool. Didn't particularly seem like the character of Saw Gerrera, how he normally is. It really only seemed like they needed a character to kind of motivate the clones to go in a specific direction, and they just decided to use Saw Gerrera as that person. Because, I mean, it's true that when they show up, like, Saw Gerrera already had, like, people on them or whatever, but I don't know, it seemed like he was really trusting of these clones. And I know they helped him out in the past and they kind of mentioned that, but I don't know. Saw Gerrera to me seemed like someone who even though Jin is like very clearly like his daughter and he cares very much for her and she would never do that, he still like was pretty certain that the only reason she showed up, you know what I mean, was to kill her. He's like very cautious of literally everyone. So the fact that he's just like, he puts so much trust in these clones, being good-hearted, good-willed people, I don't know. Especially, too, you would think he would have heard word that all the clones now are, like, the bad guys. Like, that surely has come across his thing. So when these clones show up, he would have been like, oh, those are definitely bad guys, So I don't know. Maybe benefit of the doubt here. These are the first clones they've encountered, so he still kind of trusts them. But I don't know. Didn't really particularly feel like Saw to me, but I don't know. Feel free to put in something in the comments. Give a little explanation as why you thought maybe Saul was acting that way. After that, we'll get to the thing that I was talking about earlier with Omega. Omega apparently is one of the enhanced clones. I'm not super surprised by that. I feel like the story of this particular character, when the way they're showing her in the trailers and stuff, you knew she was going to be special. And the fact that they just laid into, oh, well, she's a clone and she keeps showing up and she's clearly like interested in hanging out with the Bad Batch and all that. Yeah, I very much seemed like there was something up, and it's really no surprise here that she turns out to be like one of the enhanced clones. I am interested though, because of the 4 that they've done so far, or I should say 5 really. But of no, wait, 4. Yeah, of the 4 they've done so far, they all have very specific traits, and we don't really know what Omega's is. I'm gonna take a stab. This is day 1, episode 1. Here we go. I think they're gonna do something that's gonna make her force sensitive. And the reason I think that is because it's a kid's show, and she's the youngest target character, and this show seemingly doesn't have anything to do with the Force. So having a clone that has the Force, somehow mixing that in, she doesn't really understand that ability. Maybe they seek out some other people who could maybe help her. It kind of pulling a very similar Baby Yoda kind of feel to it. That's just my guess right off. I think that her enhancements are going to open up something in her mind where I think that's like the stone and the sensitivity of like the spatial awareness and aura and everything around her. Like she's just aware of things in a more supernatural sense. So I think that unless she's going to be like mutant and can see the future or something crazy like that, which I don't really, but they'll call that the Force. So I don't know. I guess that counts. Like whatever it is, I'm just Force sensitive. That's what I'm thinking for this character down the line. So Crosshair kind of sucks. No, I mean, I don't think we thought that like, with the character and his ability or anything like that, or when he was in Clone Wars and all that, but I definitely think what they made his switch kind of flip, and he's just kind of been a jerk the whole time, and he's really annoying, and it really kind of surprises me that they haven't like jumped on him yet. Like, dude, what the heck, man? You're looking all around, like, what's going on? Why are you saying all this stuff? Clearly you seem like Tech had that one line where he's like, I'm not entirely positive, and they zone in on Crosshair, but like, I think Omega kind of said what, I was thinking, what the audience is supposed to be thinking. Like, you're angry, but here's the thing is, we know that you can't help it. It's not your fault. There's something going on here in your head that somebody else is controlling you and controlling that emotion. And so it's weird because you kind of feel like, this guy's a jerk, and I really hope they get rid of him so that the group can kind of get back to, that interlocking, like perfect good feeling, smooth running machine. But at the same time, like I feel bad for Crosshair in this particular scene because they really point out that it's not his fault. And it's another one of those times when you think about how the clones don't really have a choice, and it kind of sucks. So I don't know. As the clones escape, another weird like pet peeve about Star Wars. I just think it's funny when like things like the cell door is like controlled by like one of these like things. Like, come on, it's Star Wars. Like you would think it'd just be like a button or theoretically a voice command, but they're all clones, so I get that. That would be poor security. But I don't know, man. Something about like there's like 3 levers on a thing, and he's like, to open the door. That's funny. So, yeah, obviously, intensify the program. He becomes like a villain. I'm talking about Crosshair. He shows up later, and they have this confrontation where he's officially on the Empire. Is that an order? I'm not following that one either. They do the whole thing. They shoot out. Again, going back to like snipers should hit more of these shots, specifically ones that are like genetically predisposed to being snipers, and they're like really, really, really good at it, and they're like still missing like basic shots, or they're just like firing their gun and they're just as good as all the other guys. So I don't know. I think that's kind of weird. But anyway, that being said, I think that Crosshair has a chance to be an ongoing villain in this show, a reoccurring person who shows up and who's trying to track them down. Very similar to what I was saying about like Gray and Styles earlier, how they tracked down Caleb Doom, right? I think you're kind of going to get that Crosshair thing where he's like a constant character that's showing up. That's just my guess. That way, maybe by the end of this show, they can save him. That would be interesting. I'd like to see that happen based on what I was saying earlier. But I don't know. That's really it. They get away, and Omega's with them now, and they're on to their next adventure. So I don't know. What are my thoughts about the episode just as a whole? I mean, let's be honest here, because it feels so much like Clone Wars that's the obvious comparison. And when you're watching the show, you're like, cool, I'm down with this. I like this. And then there's like a part of you that's like, because eventually you're going to get into, or you're going to see like Anakin and Ahsoka and Obi-Wan and stuff. And then you are reminded that those characters are probably never going to show up. And that these are your new leads. And you're kind of like, it's just like the last season of Clone Wars. Like, you watch the Bad Batch episodes and you watch the episodes where Ahsoka is like just kind of doing her thing, and you're like, cool, this is all fine. I like this. But also, when are we going to like conclude the series and get to like the really good stuff? My hope with this is that, because it feels empty right now, it feels like I'm not super excited to continue this journey with just the Bad Batch. I feel like I want there to be something that really catches me. And to be fair, that's how Rebels started. I was like, what is this show? It feels very kiddie and it's not quite there. And I know Dave Filoni did that and he's not doing this. He's kind of loosely associated with this, but he's not the one writing it and he's not the one like putting his... So this is kind of a show that's going to try to emulate what Dave was doing. And in that sense, Resistance was kind of the same way. Resistance didn't hit as hard as Rebels, or even Clone Wars, right? But the thing is like, you're really worried at the beginning of the show that you're not going to feel attached to these characters. By the end of it, I was like, oh man, Kaz and Tam, like I cared about those characters as they wrapped up that 2-season show basically. And I'm still interested to see those characters come back in some way, like whether it be like in a comic book, or if they did like a novel, or even a kid's YA novel or something like that. I would love that. So I'm interested in those characters. I feel like Bad Batch is right there. We're right there at that point where I'm excited about the show, but also like hesitant. My thing is, what I'm more excited for is just how much I think I'm gonna like the show later. I'm just not 100% right now, but I think that's the way that everybody feels. So there we are. Guys, it has been fun. I'm excited to go on the journey. I've said that a couple times. But here's the thing. I'm going to be doing this, every time the new episode drops. So whenever you get your chance to watch the show on DisneyPlus, make sure you head over to Star Wars Newsnet's YouTube channel right here where you're watching, and click on the video. Give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, share it if I shared something that you liked, if you wanted to let your friends know or something like that. That always helps, especially with videos like this. People like to see the reactions and stuff, so share it, get it out there, give a thumbs up, leave a comment, and participate. Yeah, let's have a good time, and we're looking forward to the rest of the season. Woo! Let's do it. Bad Batch reaction show out.